we've got a lot of really exciting and important things that we're going to be dealing with tonight here. Probably the most talked about is our calendar, and we're going to approve two options for the calendar. One that will have us ending school on the 28th of May, and another one if the state regulation, the state law that's being talked about in Frankfurt, it goes in our favor, may even allow us to end a couple days before that, but we're kind of waiting to see. So we're asking the board to consider both options, and we can plug the one in. So that's probably the most talked about issue, but we have a lot of other things. We have a really exciting situation with our property transfer with the city that the board will be considering later tonight, that will swap some land at Shively Park for us to be able to take ownership of our baseball and softball fields, which is going to be a good thing for the district. And on some of the spare land that we're swapping with the city, we're swapping a spare blank field, and that blank field will become the city's new indoor-outdoor tennis center, which we'll be able to utilize for our programs, but will also be a city park. It's right on the greenbelt. So we're really getting a good deal with that partnership, and it's going to be a really positive thing for not only our school system, but for our community. We have on the agenda also tonight for consideration our facility plan, and that plan will call for some really exciting upgrades to the facilities in our school district, including some upgrades to our elementary campuses, as well as some work at every school really, but expanding services in preschool and also creating some opportunities for students in our district to have career and technical education programming, which we have not offered for a long time, since the building down the street that's now part of the community college was part of this school board. So we're excited about those opportunities moving forward. We are also in the process at the district level, I want to report at rebranding. We've had an affinity for the books and the apples that are our trademark logo for almost 40 years. And we've decided that we're going to kind of give that a fresh look. And in addition to that, we're going through a continuous improvement process, and a lot of folks in the district have been involved and will be involved in putting together some feedback for us on where we go in the future with our strategy as a district. So a lot of exciting things. One other thing that we are doing here at the board is we're reorganizing. You'll probably read a little bit about this after the meeting tonight. We're reorganizing our central office, kind of streamlining some departments, and trying to also do as much as we can to provide good customer service to schools, while at the same time taking care of resources and pushing as much in the way of resources to instruction and to school-based activities. So we're excited about all the great things that are happening, and again, I congratulate you and I thank you all for being here for this March board meeting. And I know everybody is anxious for spring break, so a week from tonight we'll have spring break upon us. So it's hard to believe we're at that point. My thanks again, and move ahead.
Dr. Brake, myself, and a couple of others have just returned yesterday from a two-day event that included the other 6 districts of innovation, and that's been a real interesting experience that I'll end my presentation with today. We have 3 goals in the implementation plan, the first of which is to implement what we're going to call the Greater Owensboro Innovation Academy, and that will house the new tech structure. And as you know, as we've shared before, the process for new tech involves a planning year, which will be in the school year 2014-15, with intention to open in 15-16. We are currently, as you know, either looking for space or it may be included in the LPC plan. That is still yet to be determined, but regardless of that, we have a lot of programmatic details to work out, which we are headlong into right now. We will be submitting that application to New Tech sometime over spring break. I have talked at length with New Tech several times. I believe that is just going to be a formality in terms of the application. A readiness visit has been scheduled for April the 17th, where Paul Buck, who is the director of the new school development, will be here that day. And he will talk to us about the programmatic offerings that we've thought about thus far. He will introduce us to network offerings and resources available as a potential site. We are in the throes right now of identifying who will be leading that effort and who will be teaching in new tech, because there is extensive professional development ahead of time, which actually begins in July in New Orleans. So that's the very first meeting that we'll have some people representing us at. We'll also begin the student recruitment process after we have identified all the programmatic stuff. So we've got a lot to do, but New Tech was pretty smart in that they require a whole year of planning so that we can get everything the way it should be before we open. So that's what we're doing now. We're also talking with OCTC about how we can maximize college credit as well as high school credit in a facility like that. The second goal that we're working on right now also has to do with competency-based credits and diplomas. I believe later on tonight you're going to be looking at approving a measure that allows us some flexibility in terms of how students earn what we used to call credits. We may even change that word, but we are going to look at a model where students can show mastery of particular things, and when they do, we move them on to the next thing that they need to know, and the next thing that they need to know. And when they exhaust the list of all the need to knows, which is what we're identifying right now with teachers, then they can apply to graduate. And that's a different model than we've really experienced before or tried before. There's a lot of that going on in the state right now and in the nation, proving very successful. So just today, we were meeting with English Language Arts teacher that's really helping us identify those competencies which are essential for graduation for a student. And so we will diagnostically test each student when they arrive to us, and we will credit them for what they already bring to the table, what they already know, and then we will work with them on the things that they don't. And we will individualize every experience so that we can get that student through all the competencies and hook them to the resources that they need when they need them. So we are looking also at time. What should that time look like? So we're just putting details around all that, and we'll be bringing you more details as we get them. But I'm very pleased with this work that's gone on so far. We hope to also wrap around eventually the fine arts programming into this competency-based structure. If we find that it works with alternative school population, we intend to probably scale that across the traditional space to the high school, because and it's very timely right now with the Fine Arts Festival that has gone on. We see kids performing for us. We see kids doing culminating activities every night on that stage. But right now there is no mechanism that we can award any kind of credit, certification, any of that. And so we, being a leader in the arts, we are trying to lead that effort in terms of the Kentucky Department of Education, recognizing that. In fact, just today, Tom Stites and Carolyn Greer are on a state panel in Frankfurt talking to other state panel members about this issue, fine arts and industry type certification. We think if we can get that happening, then we will see lots better accountability measures because of our population. So we're really excited about that. And of course, we're working with post-secondary pathways so that it is more of a seamless transition between 12th and 13th grade, 13th and 14th grade, so that the students see that we're just going to move them on. Yes, they're going to get a diploma, but we're just going to move them right on to something. So we are really excited about that. One of the ways in which we can achieve that is through project or problem-based learning, where we take those competencies I talked about and wrap them in some kind of engaging task that will cover more than one particular content at a time. So we may be doing English, math, social studies, and science all wrapped up in a project that's engaging to the student. So we're working on all that development right now. We're looking at, had a conversation today, Dr. Brake, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it yet, but the teachers that are working on these competencies have already come up with particular badges. We think that in this gaming society where students really are turned on by all that lingo, and that we can make a badge, if you want to think about it as like a digital Boy Scout, digital Girl Scout, where we can take that badge and say, this badge, if you do this activity, that activity, and show us these competencies, you will earn this badge, and then this badge will mean something to somebody later, maybe an employer, but it definitely is a place marker for a student. It will be. So when they earn this badge, they move on to the next badge and the next one until they can apply for graduation. So that seems to be very exciting. And then we're going to wrap all of this also in summer learning too, and you're going to talk about that a little bit later tonight too, but so that we can stress to the student that there really is no time bound happening here. If there's competencies to be earned in the summer, let's do it. So we're pretty open in terms of all this right now. And then the third goal that we want to address in our District of Innovation application is really a K12 innovative structure. You know, really we've been talking about new tech a whole lot. What I just talked with you about competency-based will start at the high school. So what about elementary and middle? We really want to look at what we're calling the instructional core, that which happens in the classroom on a day-to-day basis. How can we innovate what's going on already? And it was interesting when we attended this meeting in the last couple of days, just how innovative we already are in terms of even those districts that were there. Because not everybody has a one-to-one program, and not everybody has such arts infusion that we have. So we already have a lot of that going on, but we want to incentivize it even more. And Dr. Bright, do you want to talk about the iGrants, because this is kind of your baby here?
Yeah, one of the things that we are going to be bringing to you probably in April is a discussion about setting aside some of our fund balance money that we can make available to teachers and to schools that might have innovative activities that they want to apply for, instructional oriented, focusing on those bullet points, literacy and STEAM, which is your science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, one-to-one digital learning, like the badges that we talked about, individualized instruction, summer learning opportunities, and pathways to post-secondary education. A lot of details to be worked out, but the basic idea is that we want to set aside some money that we can make available for professional development, professional learning, instructional technology, instructional resources, so that we can try to allow for innovation to be happening and push a lot of that money into direct instructional core of our district and what's happening there. So looking forward to that. We'll have further conversation as we go forward, and we've a lot to work out with how we earmark those monies, how we dole them out, and things like that. But we feel like it's a good way to bring that innovation piece to every one that wants to be a part of it and wants to needs the resources for some of those kind of things.
Recently, we have held a conference call. Actually, Dr. Brake was there in person, but I was on the phone with the Educational Professional Standards Board. That's a key piece in terms of our ability to move forward with the programming that we'd like to move forward with, because this is the body that certifies education professionals to teach in classrooms. And so we had a list of things that we wanted to ask for ways to make whatever we would like to see happen. And we were very encouraged by that meeting in terms of, we just went one by one, experience by experience. And for almost everyone, they had a way that we could make whatever we wanted to happen. Let me just give you an example. We are hopefully going to partner with IBEW and teach kids some basic electricity, wiring, that kind of curriculum. In order to get an industry professional to teach that, which is what we're seeking, there is a specific process that EPSB told us about, that as long as they are a part-time individual and as long as they can prove they have 4 years of industrial experience in this area, then we can name them as an adjunct instructor with some paperwork, and they can teach the course. And so we're really excited that those doors were open to us during that call. and very encouraged by what we've heard. And so we know now that there's mechanisms involved so that if we want to, we've got the electrical thing done, so if we want to think about something else in that same pattern, we can do that. So
Can we use it in healthcare?
we can.
Yes, we
Yeah,
found
that
some
will make a
pathways.
big
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
we can. So that was a good call. And then the thing that I'll end with is I wanted you to see the other districts that are identified as districts of innovation. You can see that like Eminence Independent, for instance, I think has about 600 kids, but there's Jefferson County at the table that has 100,000 kids. And so we're all sitting at the table talking about, as a group, what are the stumbling blocks for all 7 of us that KDE could then go to the legislature and say, please break down these walls. And so that's the kind of the tenor of the conversation we've had in the last 2 days. It's been more productive for us in terms of networking because we were able to hear what each of the other 6 districts put in their application. And, you know, we kind of looked at each other and went, yeah, we want to do that too, you know, that kind of thing. So there was that going on. We made some connections where we feel like we can just send an email and say, would you mind sharing this with us? And so we felt like that in itself was worth our time. But we feel like in the innovation arm of KDE, they are very interested in everything that we're doing and seem to be wanting to advocate for us. Commissioner Holliday is very on board with this concept and really would like to see us succeed. One thing we were kind of hoping for, and I took this slide out because it doesn't apply anymore, but we were hoping to get some flexibility in the assessment and accountability process. There was a bill moving forward in one chamber of the legislature, but the other chamber did not like it, and so it's dead now. But so we won't get that flexibility that we're seeking, but we still are talking with Ken Drought, who is the assessment guru at KDE, to see if there's something that these 7 districts might do that is different in the way that the numbers are crunched so that we can sort of change things up a little bit. But right now, the assessment accountability will stay as it is.